All right, we are live. Welcome to the boardroom. So Vladimir Putin is in India today on 4th of December, and a lot of different people are talking about different things. Some people are talking about the trade deals. Some are talking about defense deals, geostrategy, geopolitics. Right? We will talk about that, but the boardroom is where you get the business side of things. Right? So that is what we are going to be focusing on as much as possible. Now, will they talk about de-dollarization and other things? We all can see that the RIC, Russia, India, China, they and BRICS, for that matter, is basically a non-Western entity that is sort of giving the rest of the world an option to move out of the Western hegemony, right? Now, with that context of Russia US rivalry and de-dollarization, BRICS, and the Ukraine war and the threat that the Europeans feel from Putin, because he took Crimea, he took about 20% of Ukraine already, and he's not stopping, right? And so they can see that if he can take Crimea, he can invade Ukraine. Maybe Germany is next, right? Maybe Poland is next. So these are all the things in context while India is dealing with China, Russia, Europe, uh, not so much with the US. We all have the tariffs. Now the tariff part we'll talk about later on, but FTA is being signed with UK, and so a lot of people are saying that Indian uh, geostrategic or autonomy is what has been a very a sort of a pain in the ass for US, and this sort of a triad that is building over here in Asia of the superpowers like China, India, and Russia, or we should say even an emerging superpower. That's what we can say for India for now, right? But not how far are we to being a superpower? That's something that is debatable. But I personally do not feel that we are that far away. Right now, back to what Putin is doing in India, or what they'll be talking about. Let's look into some context, right? And so Russia and India, this is also the marking of 25th anniversary of Russia-India ties. That has been evolving from 1971 Treaty of Peace, Friendship, and Cooperation into a special and privileged alliance since 2000. Right. So this is what has been playing a big role into positioning India as a Vishwamitra, which means friend to all, while Russia is securing a reliable non-Western ally for us. Now, amongst the 50% tariffs on Indian goods and not services, but in imports from India into US, there are also 500% secondary sanctions that are being proposed to Russian oil buyers, right? Now, in this, India has shown the tendency to risk the quad frictions, right? Because being in ties with so closely with Russia, that is the rival of NATO, which is the American alliance, the Western alliance, or in a true sense, it's the American alliance. Quad is also American-led alliance, where India is also a part of it, Japan is also part of it, and now they are putting that sort of in a bit of a risk. But I think we all know that if something emerges and Quad needs to be important for India, Modi ji and Dr. Jaishankar did just go to a Quad meeting a few months back, but they will do it again if need be, right? Um, With that being said, Russia and China, had a lot, some joint exercises with their militaries. So, does that make Indian decision makers a bit more nervous, or maybe it's the security, because China really, no one really trusts China as an ally. People do business with China, but China makes a lot of good, a lot of cheap stuff for the West and the rest of the world. But do we really trust China? Because in the six wars of China, that entire doctrine, if you don't know, you need to Google that. The six wars that that China is going to fight. That includes Russia. That includes, of course, India, Taiwan, Korea, and Russia. Like China, the same way China claims Indian territory, it has engulfed the entire Tibet. It also claims a lot of Russian territory as well, right? So Russia does have that in mind, and Russia and China, they've had a bad past where Russians bombed China so badly that they changed the course of an entire river. I'm forgetting the name of the river, but they changed the course of that entire river. They bombed them that heavily, right? So, but still, BRICS and SEO are there. Other de-dollarization focused platforms. There's very important thing that happened around COVID, which is the Rupee-Ruble trade. Right now, what this has opened up for both the nations, Russia and India, is a tariff-free zone, or a way for companies to, for businesses to sell to the other country, right? And we get to that very important part later on. But before that, we also have defense modernization and joint ventures, S400s, S500s that have been talked about, which are far more advanced than S400s, and to be made in India, right? Russia is very occupied. Some defense experts say that Russia is already uh, working at its highest capacity as far as manufacturing, defense manufacturing production. These things are now, that is why Su-57's co-production, some parts will come from Russia, even S500, some parts from Russia. AK-2 203 rifles will be made in Amethi, right? Now, this is what is being talked about as well, and will be talked about in this meeting that Putin and Modi ji will be having, right? Now, this is amongst the joint exercises with the Chinese as well. Now, the economic talking points over here is that the bilateral trade surge and the $100 billion target by 2030. So Russia and China, Russia and India uh, currently have the trade of about 68.7 billion US dollars as of numbers from 2024-2025. Now they seek to boost it by 2030, by up to $100 billion. Now, in that, a lot of different industries play a very important role. Of course, we all know about the Russian oil, and that particular industry dynamics are, I think, very much clear. Bypassing the SWIFT, the entire SWIFT mechanism, the rupee trade has gone up, not just with ruble, but because India is selling the refined oil, the oil that it imports from Russia. It refines it and then it sells to European countries, even Ukraine, and of course it goes to America as well. Some of the uh, the material, the products that are made from that crude, right? and of course a lot of investments are to be done. They have a mutual investment goal of 50 billion dollars by 2025, including Russian funding for Indian logistics and the international north-south transport corridor, the INSTC, for faster Central Asia-Europe trade. So there are two major pathways that connect, you can say, the lifeline of the India-Russia trade relationship, and also geostrategic relationship. Number one is the INSTC that goes from through Central Asia into, from Chabar to into Russia, the western part of Russia, and the other one is Chennai Vladivostok maritime route, and this labor mobility pacts allow Indian workers in Russia in IT or construction projects to be able to move with absolute efficiency, right? So, and this also sort of feeds into our Atmanirbhar Bharat, the entire initiative that the government has, right? Because it boosts your exports into Russia. Now, this also allows more and more businesses to diversify from tariff-heavy US into more profitable tariff-free Russia, right? So that's there. Now, we already talked about the India-Russia, the history of India-Russia relations and the potential risking of Quad, right? But what I want to talk about more is the what it means for various different business sectors in India, at least the most important ones that I can find, right? So the number one is auto sector, right? This visit of Vladimir Putin in India is going to push the export of passenger cars, tractors, heavy commercial vehicles, and auto components into Russia, where Western exits post sanctions have created a market gap. Bilateral talks aim to resolve tariff barriers, potentially boosting Indian auto exports from $367.8 million in machinery in financial year 2026, machinery including autos, in financial year 2026, to contribute significantly towards the $100 billion trade target by 2030. So the $100 billion trade target has, a major part of it is going to come out of the auto sector for sure. Now, companies like Tata Motors and Mahindra, this means for them new assembly lines and joint ventures in Russia, right? Now, the supply chains. This is basically a supply chain shift for a lot of companies that were at first very heavily, not, I won't say dependent, but a large chunk of revenue was US, and now they are diversifying into tariff free zone nation, Russia. So, and what this could mean potentially is for businesses like Maruti Suzuki, they could see 15 to 20% cost savings, enhancing competitiveness in Russia's 1.5 million annual vehicle market. And for Russia, they will be diversifying from China in terms of sourcing. So it's about creating win-win situations when you're dealing with powers like these. This summit is expected to ink commercial deals for auto tech transfer, creating 50,000 plus jobs in Indian manufacturing hubs like Pune and Chennai. Now, over here, this particular dynamic favors Indian firms, as Russia seeks non-Western suppliers, potential for co-production of electric and hybrid vehicles. This could align with India's PLI scheme as well. So in India, the Indian government has this PLI scheme where it subsidizes indigenous products with indigenous components in the OEM products being at least 70% or higher than 70%, which is a huge incentive for manufacturers to build as much as possible, as indigenously as much as possible. So this is positioning the auto SMEs for $2 to $3 billion in new contracts by 2027. Now, all of you who actually work for or work in auto sector, you obviously have a great idea about the ancillary industry that sort of surrounds it, right? There are different auto parts and a lot of different equipment, the IoT devices that go along with the entire manufacturing of auto products, of automobile products, right? So this is a big deal for the Indian auto industry, and this comes on top of the recent festive plus GST shopping enthusiasm, where the auto sector saw massive scaling, about 9% uh, growth in monthly targets and monthly sales for the automobile manufacturers, and for EV specifically it was more than 10% growth, and this was by a lot of experts allocated to just the sentiments of the festive plus the GST slashes, GST rate cuts, and of course, critics say that the actual rate cuts are yet to reflect in most of the products, and there are those talks as well. But again, just the sentiment that was created during that time, during 22, if I'm not wrong, 22nd of September. Yeah, I could already see, being from a marketing background, I could already see a lot of businesses, especially D2C companies, sort of leveraging the festive and the GST rate cuts, this entire sentiment. They were leveraging that in their advertising and promoting products, even though even before 22nd, which was the date, if I'm remembering correctly, of announcing the GST rate cuts. So this is already, we are seeing. Of course, you would know 8.1 percent growth rate of GDP. Beating all the big Goldman Sachs predictions and IMF predictions of 7.1 to 7.3%. And on top of this, now this Russia India dynamic that is going to be played, and now a lot of other things are going to be talked about in this meeting. Russia already has given icebreakers, a contract of manufacturing icebreakers in India. Now, for those of you who do not know, icebreakers, these are big ships basically that are needed in in oceanic regions where there are thick layers of ice. What they do is they cut through the ice, and so that the drilling and other activities, uh, primarily of course drilling, what other activities, of course. So now what this means is critical minerals access via Arctic collaborations. There are talks that Indian uh, military will be present in the Arctic. Now, this entire dynamic again now, with the Chennai Vladivostok corridor, this is going to play a huge role in this icebreakers and critical minerals, rare earth minerals mining, where it gives Russia an edge over China's monopoly of 90%, refining that it has. What it could mean for Indian EV firms like Ather and Ola Electric and Hero, it could secure discounted supplies for batteries and magnets, right? Because Russia, that particular entire Arctic region, Russia has such massive resources, but what it does not have is enough skilled labor, which is going to be another very important talking point in this bilateral meeting. They don't just need cheap labor; they need quality skilled labor for all stratas of your hierarchy, right? So this is going to be a very big deal, because what this could even mean, and especially for the EV sector, this could, as I just told you, could secure discounted supplies for batteries and magnets, with joint ventures involving Rosatom and Nornickel potentially yielding 6,000 metric tons of rare earth magnets annually. So this is a big step right now. This is under India's 815.7 million US dollar scheme of under this this scheme of rare earth magnets and EV production, right? Now this reduces for EV imports. This reduces the import cost by 20 to 30%, which is vital for scaling the EV production to 100 million units by 2030, right? So all of these things are adding up to that $100 billion goal, the mission of India and Russia. Now, there are discussions on Indian troops being involved in the Arctic exercises, building on Indra 2025 naval drills, signal deeper security cooperation, potentially including troop rotations for rare earth mining site protection. Now, of course, because a lot of rare earth, a very important strategic asset for any country, they will have to protect that as well. Now, India has already been expanding in the Indian Ocean region, and even further down uh, to very close to the ASEAN region, where India has signed uh, a pact with ASEAN countries to to be able to uh, uh, be the first responders to any piracy and any security threats within this entire Indian Ocean region. And now we will be also be roaming around the South China Sea. So this is going to be very uncomfortable for the Chinese as well, right? Chinese do not like being not being the center of everything, the focal point of the global trade or anything, right? Now this is going to be very big for the IT sector as well, right? A key outcome is the labor mobility agreement, allowing 10,000 plus skilled Indian IT workers to fill Russia's shortages in software and cybersecurity. Now, firms like TCS and Infosys could double revenues from Russian contracts, targeting $1 billion in exports by 2027. Stocks going up, right? With eased visa processes and rupee settlements bypassing SWIFT. This entire dynamic that has been created, it's just going to feed into it. Whether someone likes it or not, being India being friends with Russia, it is happening, and it is only going to get stronger and stronger. Now, of course, H1B curbs and a lot of anti-India sentiment that comes out of the United States. You do not see such elements, or at least I'm not that aware of it. Such racist or anti-India hatred out of Russia. You don't see that, but when you look into, there's one YouTuber. The YouTube channel is Dev Talks by Adi. He did this experiment, very interesting experiment, where he created two different accounts, and on one he tweeted or posted something anti-India and racist about India, and in the other account he said something nice about India, and the racist negative part just took off like wildfire, right? Instantly. Now, regardless of whether the algorithm is messed up, or messed with, uh, you know, but it's negativity sells, but when there's space for that particular thing to be sold, right? And there are a lot of, even in the saner voices of the US media and the podcasting ecosystem, like Patrick Bet David and Joe Rogan, and I've always sort of sensed a very, a lot of misconceptions around India and Indians. They will they can see the good side of it, but I can see that a lot of stereotypes have been stuck in their head as well, right? So all of these things sort of, they play a big role into a child's dream of, what we want to do, if you want to work with a big tech firm in United States. you know Earlier, when I was a child, America was the place to be, right? Even I don't think that it's that bad, but now today, what I know about America and what they think about people like me, I probably wouldn't want to be there, right? Maybe for visiting, but living there, right? And we can already see this happening and reflecting in numbers, because the H1B visa applications are down by 70%, right? And I'm surprised that there's even the rest of the 30% is still there. But 70% drop means 70% drop for the IT companies of India, of America, uh, and in their skilled talent, that their high quality talent that they used to take from the IITs and IIMs. They will probably still be eyeing for that and saving all the rest of the H1B visa money, the funds, into getting the best of the best talent. So maybe the competition amongst them, to get the creamy layer of IITs and IIMs and other institutions, that competition is going to be tighter, because now just a limited number of labor can be imported. Now, back to Russia and India. Tech transfer in AI and digital payments. Summit agendas include IT services collaboration with Russia, pitching Mir system integration for UPI linked apps. Right? Indian startups could access Russian AI tools for fintech and space tech, leading to joint ventures worth 300 to 500 million dollars. For businesses, this means new revenue streams in Russia's digital economy, projected to grow 15% annually, while enhancing cybersecurity for Indian firms facing global threats. Right. So there's going to be a lot of, you will see there are joint ventures, of course. Now you will see a lot of Indian companies using Russian AI models for our fintech and space tech tools, and a lot of Russian companies, the services will be going back and forth, right? A lot of Indian companies would be providing a lot of services, that could be marketing services, that could be even BPOs. We still have those, right? So that's going to be there, and this obviously forms the backbone of any trade talks. When we're talking macroeconomics, uh, you know MSMEs and the smaller players play a huge role in all of these things, right? So now, diversification beyond energy trade. IT emerges as a balanced export pillar for Indians, with discussions on engineering goods and software for Arctic projects. Now, a lot of Indians go into the US and other sites like Qatar, and wherever the US oil is present, right? or the US infrastructure is present to dig out that oil. A lot of people from India, even engineers from India, will go and work on that site. Similarly, now it's going to happen with the Arctic region with Russians. Now, Russians need for non-sanctioned tech favor Indian SMEs, potentially creating 20,000 jobs in Bangalore and Hyderabad through co-development of blockchain for mineral tracking, aligning with India's Digital India initiative. Now, some other key sectors. In fact, pharmaceuticals is the top export agenda with $46 million already in towards financial year 2026. The visit could unlock $1 billion in new deals for generics and vaccines as Russia seeks alternatives to Western supplies. Now, companies like Sun Pharma and Dr. Reddy's benefit from faster regulatory approvals with rupee trade shielding against forex volatility. Right. This pragmatic tide strengthens India's position in Russia's $40 billion pharma market. Now, this will be creating about 15,000 jobs in Hyderabad's biotech hubs. Now, this is again pharma also connected with IT, logistics, whole other ancillary industries starts to rise up at once. Agriculture and marine products, diversified exports, untapped potential in agri, 75.7 million US dollars in shrimp exports, and marine goods could surge via tariff reductions, targeting 2 billion US dollars by 2030. Firms like Avanti Feeds gain from joint ventures in fertilizers and cold chain logistics via INSTC, mitigating climate risks, right? Because when you're going maritime and you're going via ships, you need to have at least a couple of alternatives because of piracy, because there's China in the way, multiple other factors. Maybe the weather doesn't support it at a particular time. Right? So for businesses, this means resilient supply chains with Arctic routes having INSTC, enabling year-round exports, countering US agri tariffs. Right. Now, there's another very important aspect of it, and this is the last aspect of this particular trade, this particular India-Russia relations, is energy beyond oil. There's nuclear and renewable synergies. Expansion of Kundankulam nuclear plant and small modular reactors offers 5 to 7 billion dollars in contracts for L&T and NPCIL, where rare earth ties support renewable components. Now, EV adjacent energy firms like Adani Green could localize the small modular reactors tech for clean power, achieving 20% cost reductions. Geopolitically, this insulates Indian energy businesses from Trump era sanctions, ensuring 7.4% GDP growth resilience through stable supplies. So, what? Let me conclude all of this for you. The entire global structure, we are in the midst of it being changed from what it used to be, a dollar oriented, a West oriented economy, global economy, and the global economic dynamics. Now it's shifting, I would say, and sort of breaking apart. A huge chunk is breaking apart from there. And when I say the West is actually helping it with all those tariffs and just a very, if I sort of tone it down into a very simplistic manner, very bad attitude towards other nations, not just India. If you look at how Donald Trump talks about, any non-Western nations and national leaders and global leaders, and even how he treats some of the European leaders when he meets them, uh, and the average American's outlook. There's a very interesting podcast that happened between Joe Rogan and Russell Crowe. And Russell Crowe mentioned a very important and very interesting thing, where he said that when an American, no, Russell Crowe is Australian. So he said when Americans grow up looking inwards, right? Not just inwards as in spiritually, but what is happening, they are mostly concerned with America and America itself. At best, Hitler and World War and something in Europe, and ancient beauty and all of that Renaissance. And well, he did not say all these things. I'm adding to what he said. He said that kids in US grow up looking in what happens in US. Being the Australian kid, he says, uh, they have grown up looking outward because geographically it's sort of in the other corner of the world, but they have seen other things. Of course, being part of the cricket playing nations, Australians, and even if you follow cricket, and if you're in India, you obviously uh, you follow cricket, right? You have watched sincere amounts of cricket, right? And we all know that Australians and not so much British, but but mostly Australians have a very positive sort of attitude towards Indians. Maybe not the Ricky Ponting team era, maybe a bit afterwards, but you get the point that Australians, like Indians, like a lot of other countries, we grow up looking outwards for better things and for interesting things. Not that our country is not good enough. In fact, in India, we were made to feel for a big amount of time that India is not that good, and some people still bash their own country like anything, right? But this entire attitude of the United States of not really caring about who's who and whatever's outside of America, this has sort of created this entire political dynamics in the US, where the best possible thing could be, uh, you know, uh, interfering in favor of Gaza and not in favor of Israel. But no one over there would say that maybe not just America first, but maybe America only. And trust me, if that was the thing, that if America and the American establishment, let alone Donald Trump, had any sense of fairness and justice, you know, probably Russia and India ties wouldn't be uh, strengthening up in these circumstances. They'll be strengthening up anyways, in my opinion. But if Joe Biden and the entire globalist settlement, deep state or whatever one may call them, military industrial complex, CIA, and the big oil money and all those people, if it wasn't for that power structure pushing Russia into Ukraine, we probably would be seeing this in a totally different way, right? But with that context and the business opportunities that lie with it in India for Indian firms, I feel really, really excited to see how this goes and how this plays out. So I hope you got some value out of it, and I'm very new to this, obviously, but I would love to get your support. I would love for you to comment down below, give me some feedback. What do you guys feel? We can talk about politics, geopolitics, business, strategies, even cultural, things. We can do a lot with this channel. It's sort of a blank slate, and but I will keep trying my best to give you the best possible content ever that I can, right? So if you like this video, press the like button, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. It will really, really mean a lot to me. And thank you for watching if you have come this far. I will see you in the next one.